Welcome to Your Story Matters. My name is Linda Olson. I'm the founder of Wealth Through Stories and Your Story Matters Masterclass. Our Masterclass series is where we interview experts about their story. I'm excited to introduce our next expert in our Masterclass series, Jenkins Herlong. You may have heard the phrase, a stranger is only a friend you haven't met. I sensed an instant bond as I first met Jane, and I'm sure you will too. Jane is a serious XM humorist, international best-selling, award-winning author, professional singer, recording artist, and award-winning speaker. Wow, Jane, you just sound like you've got it all.
Oh, goodness, Linda, it's a matter of just pushing and trying to do different things and having the courage to fail and to keep trying something different. That's just what it's all about, seriously, I think.
Well, and there's one thing we know, nobody just arrives at this place. It's always about a journey. And so, Jane, could you tell us a little bit about your story and how you got to where you are?
I am a Charlestonian by birth. My father was a tomato and cucumber farmer. And that environment of just really hard, disciplined work, coupled with my mother's good sense of humor, just put dreams in my heart. And on that little farm, I just started thinking bigger than myself. And I worked hard. I had some challenges, some learning challenges, and did not get accepted into college as life unfolded, and was put into the lower academic levels. But that just made me push harder to prove that with the grace of God, I could just break out of that and just become my very best. And I went on to college on academic probation on a grant because my daddy couldn't send me financially. He tried hard, but the farm, they're good and bad years. And so I just kept plowing on, and I went on to grad school and then was honored to be in the Miss America pageant, which was such a dream come true for me because the Miss America pageant is based on principles I knew I could become, but I wasn't. So that to me is very key. And coupling all of that with a sense of humor, I think those are some really good principles, whether it's speaking, singing, writing. You can combine all of that and help other folks on their journey. As you said, we're all on a journey.
Wow, very good. And I appreciate you sharing. One, the background of the farm is certainly one I identify with as well. And like you said, there's good years and bad years, and there really is in any kind of business. But the fact that you persevered and still was able to accomplish your dreams, I just think that is wonderful.
Well, it's a matter of having the wherewithal to keep pushing through, to keep finding out who you are, and to be able to share that with other people. Because it's all about the journey. The arrival is so rewarding, but what makes us is what we went through to get to one of our goals, and then it pushes us to a new goal. I think goals and dreams create opportunities for us to think a little bit bigger and a little bit outside the boxes that we're in. I had no idea I could do what I'm doing. I kept trying. I think, you know what? The worst thing I can do is fail. And all failure is a word I say instead of no, think next. Think next. So a lot of people stop at no, but they should never stop. They should think next. And, in my own life as a follower of the Christian faith, that keeps me propelled. And it keeps me focused on the big prize and what's really important.
Wow, I love that. Earlier, you talked about having the courage to fail. I think that's huge because, like you said, so many people just stay stuck when things don't fall into place right away. So how did you get that courage to fail?
I think that so many people are afraid of failure. They think it's final. But the greatest people in history have never allowed themselves to stop. They keep pressing on, and they use those as being a successful failure. So to me, a successful failure is someone who learns a lesson and what to do next. And I think that's huge, because if you just look at failure as an end, a stop sign, as I can't go any further, there might be a branch to the left, and it could be greater than the goal that you were actually trying to achieve. So I think it's all in your perspective. Never, ever, ever just say, I can't do that. You can say, maybe I could try this, and then that will help me learn exactly how to focus a little better on another goal and another dream. But it's amazing how that works. It really is. I just think it all depends on your learning curve. Do you want to keep trying and learning? And I never want to quit learning. I think it's sad when people just stop, because then all of a sudden the opportunities aren't there and you can't see them. You know, the Bible says, so as a man thinketh in his heart, so he is. And that's huge. I mean, I have a friend that in our old Sunday school class, he said that he was 17, he was in boot camp. This is one of my favorite stories to share from the platform, and it's also in my books, one of them. And he said that he just kept saying, I'm just going to fail. And he just prayed, and he said, God help me. And he looked down, and on his dog tags was written, be positive. And he actually thought that was a message about changing the way he thinks and acts. And he did. He completely changed. And then a friend of his said, hey, man, you're so different. What happened? He said, I got a message from God. He said, what? He said, yeah, man, look, my dog tags, be positive. And the friend said, yeah, look at my dog tags. Oh, negative. he didn't know that was his blood type.
Wow.
So, you see? So you just don't know. And until you step out and try, and your mind is an incredible battlefield. You have to win that battle.
Absolutely. Very well said. So as you make, it's like our life is, I think we're always in some kind of transition, as long as we're willing to grow, continue to grow. But I know that there are some transitions in life, and often referred to as pain points, that just initially often stop us in our tracks until we get a hold of things and then move on. Tell us about one or two of those things for you. What were some of the most difficult things you had to overcome?
I think the first thing, and I think back, was in the first grade. I wanted to be in a little beauty pageant, Little Miss Merry Christmas. And I had lost my teeth. I was a tomboy, a flannel shirt, corduroy pants, a penny loafers, the whole deal. And I looked like a boy. And I just stepped up there with the rest of those little diva girls, and I certainly wasn't one of them, and just grinned and acted like I thought I could. And that was painful, because they laughed at me because I was strange looking with my little tomboy self. And so that was a pain point. But what you could do with those things is say, wait a minute, I'm not going to let that stop me. Another was being told I was severely learning disabled, dyslexic, fired from teaching dyslexic children. And I wanted to be an educator. So to me, that was one of those, it was not really a stop sign, it became a yield. So there was something else that I was supposed to do. I didn't get accepted into colleges. I wanted low SATs, GREs, the whole deal. But I ended up going into college on academic probation. And then I actually did do okay on the GRE, and it got me into graduate school. So one little baby step kept leading to leaps. And then all of a sudden I'm in a situation where I look back and go, oh my goodness, that was quite a journey. And I just never stopped trying and never tried stopping. And that's a Dolly Parton quote. But those pain points are pivotal. More recently, we had a very sad family situation, and it was this terrible lawsuit. And my mother actually had to sue my sister. We were very close, but when my father died, some stuff just came up, and it was pretty unbelievable to see a personality change, and what my sister just felt like she'd been slighted. And it just broke my heart. It was like I couldn't reach her. And my mother died. She was so sad about it. And then I have a brother who chose to experiment with illegal drugs, and it's a huge problem. But those are pain points, and how you have to handle impossible people, which led me to really dig deep and write my third book called Bury Me With My Pearls. And although it's funny, there's a lot of pain in that book, but pain can, with I'll say it like this: pain with conclusion can be a gift to others if we can share it properly, not as a therapy session, but in its proper perspective with conclusion, which led to the fourth book, which has wowed me because it's called Rhinestones on My Flip-Flops. And I take iconic biblical women, and it's a very much of a crossover book. I would not call it a Bible book, but it uses biblical women, their flip-flops, how they managed to sparkle and shine. Some of them didn't sparkle and shine. They had to accept their choices. You can choose your choices, you know, but you can't choose your consequences. So their consequences were what they had to accept. But it's been a great book with Hachette out of New York, and it's been a pretty big deal for me as a Southern writer who's a humorist. So that's been amazing. But those pain points led to a greater good. We've got to make it make sense. We've got to make pain somebody else's gain with healthy conclusion. That's how I look at it.
I love it. And once again, you've expressed it so well. What can you tell our listeners today and expand on that thought a little bit? We've got to make our pain to be somebody else's gain. It's like, how did you do that? Obviously, the family issues, everything you went through were huge. I know the amount of turmoil that can bring up. So how do you find yourself in the midst of all of that and then are able to rise above that? Speak to that for a moment.
Well, I had to approach it from a spiritual perspective because I think many of our problems are spiritually based. And I could see it in the folks that I loved and cared about, but yet it wasn't my job, I found, to get them to that place to accept the responsibility of growing their minds and spiritually handling their issues. So there's just so much you can do. And we can't play God. We cannot micromanage other people's thoughts and actions. So once we learn, it's not about how we handle them, but it's about how we handle ourselves in impossible situations. That's the skill set. And I went to a counselor who helped me so much. So that, coupled with really reading and diving into books like Necessary Endings, I believe that's a Henry Cloud book, Foolproof Your Life by Jan Sibelius, great books with tremendous messages. And one of the greatest ones, Linda, that I got was, turning the other cheek many times will get you in more trouble because some people can't wait to slap the other side. So don't put your face in their space. Have a healthy distance. Have forgiveness in your heart, even when it makes no sense. And the way I look at folks that have something that's gnawing at them, I'm a target, and that's just so annoying. But the person that lives with that bitterness and that jealousy or that envy, how torturous is that for them? That is a terrible way to live. So I feel for someone who carries that. And I saw it in my own family. And right after my mother passed away, my sister died suddenly. It was 5 months later. And I knew it was due to a spirit of bitterness, unforgiveness, and a lack of an emotional maturity to be able to harness those things and handle them in a healthy way. And that's been my life passion ever since we lost her, was to tell people, please don't let these emotions, and that's what my book is about. I talk about deception, I talk about stress, I talk about timing, but it's all from the perspective of biblical women, but yet it's very funny. And that's what I liked, is the humor. Humor solidifies the message.
Yes, it does. And I don't know anybody who does it as well as you. So
you're sweet.
I congratulate you with that, because I think that is the key. We can take people to those places of pain, but of course the key is taking them beyond that, helping them to see those healthy boundaries. And if you can do that in a humorous way, that is truly a gift.
Yeah, I think so too. I'm so thankful that I have been given the wisdom, I guess, and I say this very gratefully and not with any pride in my heart, that if I could be used for a greater good, And I've read the reviews of the book when I speak, when people come up afterwards and say, "Oh my goodness, that was absolutely for me. You said it with humor, but I knew exactly what you were hitting on." That is gold. That's like, oh, that's what keeps me getting up in the mornings and not wanting to just say, well, let me just hang this up and play a little bit or play more or whatever. I keep on that mission that there's somebody else that needs to hear this. Ironically, one of my best friends just came back from therapy today, and I was so thankful she made the decision. It was very tough. But regardless of what age you are, if there are things you need to clean up in your life, you get your head straight, you owe it to yourself and your family to do that. And I'm so proud that she did that. And we've been talking off and on today all about the folks that she met, young and old, that are struggling with lots of addictions. And so, it's not a shameful thing to get help and to get real help so you can have a productive future. It's never too late to have a great future.
Absolutely. And I do appreciate you saying that. There is no shame in getting help. In fact, to me, it's just all about growth. That is just an indication that you are willing to continue to grow in your life. And the more inner growth, as you know, the more opportunity to impact people around you.
So true. So true.
So Jane, what is like the most powerful message you could leave with our group today?
Don't let your age stop you. Don't let other people define you. If you know in your heart that God has put a dream in there, you go for it, and it will start to unfold. It's amazing. And talent creates other talents and desires to tackle things you never thought you could do. I just keep having these inklings of, I can do that. Well, why not? Give it a go. So that's what I would say. Don't let other people define you. Don't let your age define you. Great things are accomplished with women of wisdom and men of wisdom. Listen to those smart people. Learn how to handle your emotions so you can be effective not only in your life, but to those around you that you influence.
Oh, thank you. That is very powerful and very motivational. So I know you have a very special gift for our audience today. Could you tell us about that?
Yes, the fourth book that I mentioned, Rhinestones on My Flip-Flops, I would like to offer that as a gift, coupled with my Sirius XM comedy. That's a lot of fun to share, my Southern stories, and laughter and making a life lesson come true, hopefully. So those two things I'd love to share.
Oh, great. Thank you. And you're talking about a hardcover book, right?
Yes, not an ebook. I mean, I could give that, but I don't know. I like to touch a book, and then I can autograph to whomever. So it'd be a chance just to share that.
Oh, thank you. What a wonderful gift, and to be willing to personalize this to everyone. And so, how can they get a hold of this?
Well, if you go to, it's in Target. In fact, I'm doing a big book signing at Barnes & Noble in Augusta, Georgia, this Saturday at 2:00. They have 65 copies. I went, wow, that's pretty cool. Of course, it's on Amazon. It's at christianbooks.com. It's at Walmart. Is carrying the book, and it's on Audible. I recorded it, and I was really excited how that came out because I decided to do it myself. And so if you go to my website, janeherlong.com, Herlong, and follow the links, you can see how this book can be purchased. But I'm just tickled. The response is mostly 5 stars, and I've got well over 40 reviews, which is pretty good since the book just released about 3 months ago, a little over 3 months ago now. But so it's been received well. I've gotten wonderful comments, and the big thing, Linda, it's helping women rise above circumstances, handle their emotions, and be better at home, at work, and whatever they choose to do. That's the gift to me.
Huge gift. And those reviews are very, very powerful. So if anybody wants to take a look at that and just find out a little bit more about the book, and people who have read it or know Jane, please go to Amazon and take a look at those reviews. And in order to receive their free gift, can they just email you?
Oh, sure. Yes. Jane at janeherlong.com. And so that would be the way to contact me.
Okay, very good. Jane, thank you again for being our guest today, for taking the time and sharing those pearls of wisdom, because that's truly what they are. We so appreciate what you are doing out there and the model, particularly that you are for women. We all need that boost to be encouraged and be motivated and get out there and not stop, but just keep going. So thank
So
you.
true. Thank you, Linda, for doing this, and keep empowering women and other folks that need to hear good, solid messages to help them be better folks and better parents and grandparents and sisters and daughters and the whole thing. So it's a real blessing to share that.
Oh,
And
thank you
wives, don't
so
forget the
much.
wife.